KDE Neon is very minimal distribution, and after you install it, you need to spend quite some time to configure it. In this video, you will learn 10 essential things to do after installing KDE Neon. If you are my subscriber, you probably already know that I use KDE Neon as my distribution at work. It is one of the best distributions with Plasma 5 desktop, and I review it here. But it is very minimal distribution, so you need to put some effort after you install it to make it usable. And in this video, I will show you 10 essential things to do after installing KDE Neon. Let's get started. And the first thing I do after installing KDE Neon is to change some KDE settings. For example, by default Plasma 5 desktop has this kind of menu. But if you right click here and go to alternatives, you can change the style of this menu. You can select sort of dashboard menu and also this kind of a list style menu. This is what I like the most. I like it because you can quickly see what applications you have in different categories. And you can also add some favorites applications here. The next step I go to the settings, and in the settings you have all the categories on the left side, which is okay probably if you're used to it, but I prefer icon view of my settings. So if you go to the menu, configure, here you can change the layout to icon view from the sidebar view. Okay, now it is more classical view of KDE settings menu. I personally find it much easier to find all the necessary categories here. And right here we can also do some settings. For example, if you go to desktop behavior, here you can change the behavior of your desktop from single click to double click. I have discussed these things in my video of 7 annoyances of Plasma 5 desktop, and I know many users prefer to use single click, but I am still kind of an old-fashioned user who use double click. So if you're like me, you can go here and change the desktop behavior to double click. Next you need to go back to your settings and go to window management. And here in the advanced tab, you can change the settings of the window placement when you open them. By default it has this smart placement, so it will open your windows randomly in the desktop. And as you can see now, this settings window was open in the top right corner. But I prefer to open my windows in the center, so I select center here and apply. So now if I open any new window, it will open right in the center. And here I also usually go to the task switcher, because when you press Alt Tab to switch between windows, you will see the selected window will be highlighted. I personally find it really annoying, so I disable this feature. If I click apply, now the selected window is only shown here and it doesn't change here on the desktop. And I also personally don't like this breeze style of switching between windows. I like old style with large icons. So let's change it, apply, and if I press Alt Tab now, you can see now I can see just the icons of different applications. I personally think it is more productive and I switch between windows much faster this way. Number 2. Update your system properly. Usually I do not include the update procedure in things to do after installing Linux, because for me it is very obvious. But in case of KDE Neon, there is a small trick which I would like to show you. So as you already know, KDE Neon is based on Ubuntu. But in case of KDE Neon, you need to use a little different command to update your system properly. I discussed it in my KDE Neon review, you can go to that video and watch it. But to update KDE Neon, you need to run this command, sudo, to get administrative privileges, and then instead of using the command apt, you need to use the command pkcon. And after that command, we will run the command to refresh the cache of our update manager. And the next command which will be executed right after the refreshing the package cache will be to update our system. So it will be sudo pkcon with the command update. Enter your password. And accept all the updates. Type yes and press enter. Of course, you can also click here and update your system through the graphical interface using the Discover Package Manager. but I still would like to show you the command line way, because the command line way is usually more reliable to update your system. Number 3. Install Synaptic Package Manager. By default, KDE Neon comes with KDE Package Manager, which is the Discover Package Manager. It is a good program, but it doesn't work perfectly, so I recommend you to go to the old style and use Synaptic Package Manager. It is a graphical program to manage packages, and it is extremely reliable, although it is not as beautiful as Discover. Simply search for Synaptic and install it. Let's open it. Here I also recommend you to add it to favorites. For example, you right click on Synaptic and add it to your favorites. Now you can quickly access Synaptic Package Manager from here, and you can remove Discover. Let's open it. I think Synaptic Package Manager is familiar to most users, but if you see it first time, this is how it looks. As I said, it is nice graphical package manager. If you click on any package, you can see its description. It's not the most beautiful one, but it is extremely reliable. So that's why I recommend you to use Synaptic Package Manager. Number 4. Install drivers. Unfortunately, by default, KDE Neon doesn't have any driver manager, and you need to either install all drivers manually, and in this case you need to know what drivers you need to install, or you can install Driver Manager, which will install all the drivers automatically on your system. And in this case, I recommend you installing Ubuntu Driver Manager. Select it, right click, mark for installation, also mark all the necessary packages as dependencies, and apply the changes. You can also tick this box to automatically close this window when the package is installed. Now we can close Synaptic, go to the menu and search for Driver Manager. Here it is. After the first open, the Driver Manager will analyze your system and search for any necessary drivers. So in my case, I record this video in the VirtualBox, and as you can see, it suggests me some drivers for the virtual machine. So let's install it. In your case, if you install it on real hardware and you need some Wi-Fi drivers or video card drivers, I hope it will automatically detect your hardware and suggest you proper drivers. So if it suggests you several drivers, I recommend you to pick the top one. The top one is usually the most reliable option. So after you have selected all the drivers you need to install, press Apply. Enter your password. After the drivers are installed, reboot your system. And hopefully after the reboot, you will boot into your system with graphical interface and your drivers will work properly. Number 5. Install LibreOffice. KDE Neon is such a minimal distribution that it doesn't have any Office suite. So let's install LibreOffice, which is the most popular open source Office program. I will open Synaptic Package Manager and search for LibreOffice. If you use Synaptic, you may also find that there is a search field here, which is a quick search in Synaptic, but I think there is a bug which makes it very slow and it doesn't work properly, so for now I don't recommend using it. I recommend you to use the search menu here, but I hope after some time when this will be fixed, you can also use this quick search bar, because as you can see now, it is rebuilt in search index, and you cannot search anything with it right now. So these are all the packages which are related to LibreOffice, but the one we need to install is LibreOffice. Right click, mark it for installation, also mark all the dependent packages, and you also need to find the package which gives your LibreOffice Plasma 5 style. So we need to scroll down and find the package LibreOffice style, and here we have Breeze style. This is what we need to make LibreOffice look native in Plasma 5 desktop. Also mark it for installation. And here I also would recommend you to install Microsoft Font package, because if you use Office, it's very likely you will also need to use Microsoft fonts. For example, if somebody sends you a document which was created in Microsoft Office, it will use Microsoft fonts. Search for the package TTF MS. And here is Microsoft Font Installer. Select it for installation, mark all dependencies, and now we can apply the changes. So LibreOffice and Microsoft fonts will be installed on your system. You can also click on these details and see all the process in the terminal. The Microsoft fonts require you to accept the license. To do that, you need to click with your mouse in this terminal field and then press enter and scroll the license. Next, you need to accept this license. Type yes and press enter. After the installation, let's open LibreOffice and check how it works. So as you can see, the panel of LibreOffice looks native in Plasma 5 desktop, and if you go to the fonts, you can also find some Microsoft fonts as Arial, for example. So everything works correctly. Number 6. Install restricted extra packages. By default, KDE Neon is able to open and play most of the common formats, but it is still good to install some restricted extra package to enable the support of a wide range of formats. And to install it, you need to go to the search in Synaptic Package Manager and search for the package Kubuntu Restricted Extras. And mark this package for installation. As you see, it will install many codecs for your KDE Neon and some archive management packages like RAR. Apply. After installing this package, you should be able to open most of the proprietary formats. Number 7. Configure swappiness. If you have more than 2 GB of RAM, you can also benefit from using your RAM memory as much as possible and restrict writing files to the swap partition, because swap partition is slower than your RAM memory. So to do that, you need to open terminal, and we can check the default value of swappiness. You need to run the command cat and the path prods sys vm swappiness, and the default value is 60. But if you reduce this value, your system will use your RAM memory much more and start writing to the disk much later. And to do that, you need to edit the config file, type sudo nano atc sysctl conf, enter your password and scroll down to the end of this file, and here you need to write this line of code: vm.swappiness equal 10. Ctrl O to save the file and Ctrl X to exit from Nano editor. Now if you reboot your system, your swappiness value will change to 10 and your system will use RAM memory more efficiently. After the reboot, open the terminal and check your swappiness value. And you should see 10 instead of 60 now. Number 8. Enable Firewall. I often get comments that Linux desktop doesn't need a firewall. And this is true because by default, all the Linux distributions don't have any ports open. But some users can install some application which will open some ports, for example if you install Samba or SSH, and they may not know that they open some ports. So it is better to install Firewall and be sure that your computer is closed from the outside access. It is better to be safe than sorry. So in KDE Neon I recommend installing GUFW, which is a graphical interface of uncomplicated firewall. It is a very simple application to manage firewall rules, and the only thing you need to do is just to enable it. If you need to open some ports, you can go to the rules and manage what ports you want to add here. But for most of the users, I think just enabling firewall and deny all incoming and allow outgoing connections will work the best. And again, It is not necessary, but I still recommend to enable Firewall. Number 9. Firefox settings. Let's open Firefox. And what I usually do in Firefox, I go to the settings. And here I enable Restore Previous Session. This way Firefox will open the same tabs I had opened when I close it. This is very useful. Here also, if you scroll down, you can also enable DRM support. For example, if you want to watch Netflix in Firefox, you need to enable this option. And I also don't like that Firefox doesn't have a search field anymore. It used to have it in the past, but now it was removed. So if you right click on this panel and go to Customize, you can move it back. And you can remove this space. So now the search bar is here. It is very useful if you Google, for example, email addresses, because if you Google email address in the browser bar, it will redirect you to your email client, but if you Google email address here, it will search for that email address in Google. And when you open Firefox, you should be able to see this sign in your tray menu. This suggests to install Firefox Plasma integration. Just click on it and you will be redirected to Firefox add-on page with Plasma 5 integration add-on. And I recommend you to install it. This way, Firefox will be better integrated with your Plasma 5 desktop. For example, you will be able to see native notification from Firefox in your Plasma 5 desktop. And the last thing to do after installing KDE Neon is to install some commonly used applications. Because as you already know, there is almost no pre-install applications in KDE Neon. So these are the applications I installed on my system, and I think most of the users will also use them. So let's install them and I will show you each of them. Press enter, enter your password and agree to install them. Also, I copied this command in the description under this video, so you can also copy this command and install all this program on your system. Or you can selectively install only some of these programs. Now let's go to the menu and check all the programs I have installed. So here it's only the Office packages which we have installed in the previous step. Here in the graphics I have Digicam, which is probably the best program to manage photographs. GIMP is an image manipulation program. I think you all know it's the best open source alternative of Photoshop. Image viewer GwenView has been installed in KDE Neon by default. And here I also install Color Chooser. This is a very good application because you can pick any color on the screen you want. For example, if you want to know the color code of this wallpaper color, you click here and you can copy this color code and use it in any other program. This is a very useful application. So next, if we go to the internet, you can see this is a Firefox browser which was installed in KDE Neon by default. I have also installed KTorrent to download torrent files. For example, this is the best way to download Linux images. You can also use Thunderbird as a mail client. It is a GATK application, but I think there is nothing better in Linux than Thunderbird. Next, in multimedia, you can use VLC, which is installed by default, and VLC plays all the music files nicely too, but I still prefer to separate these two applications. I use VLC to open video files, and Clementine is probably one of the best music players. And in the Office you already know all these programs. We have installed LibreOffice, and Ocular is a PDF and ebook reader which was installed in KDE Neon by default. In the settings we have Firewall, which we installed before, Synaptic Package Manager and the settings. In system I have installed Yakuyak, which is a drop-down terminal. So as you can see here, you can use F12 to open it. I think it is really good, so you just press F12 and it drops down. Very useful application. I use it all the time. And then I think most of the programs go to utilities. For example, Cherry Tree is a note-taking program. I have reviewed it here, so I recommend you to go and watch my review of different note-taking programs in Linux. SpeedCrunch is a calculator I use. It is little more advanced than the standard simple calculator. And Kfind is an application to search for files on your Plasma desktop. Of course you can search for files in Dolphin if you press Ctrl F, but here it is little more advanced, so you can go and configure what exactly you want to search for. and it is little more advanced, so I also recommend you to install it, and if you need to find some file, you can always go here and find that file. I hope these 10 things really help you to configure your KDE Neon. If there is something you would like to add to this list, please leave a comment below, and thank you for watching.